You're listening to the N2K Space Network.
The DMV has established itself as a top-tier player in the global cyber industry. DMV Rising is the premier event for cyber leaders and innovators to engage in meaningful discussions and celebrate the innovation happening in and around the Washington, D.C. area. Join us on Thursday, September 18th to connect with the leading minds shaping our field and experience firsthand why the Washington, D.C. region is the beating heart of cyber innovation. Visit dmvrising.com to secure your spot. Risk and compliance shouldn't slow your business down. Hyperproof helps you automate controls, integrate real-time risk workflows, and build a centralized system of trust so your teams can focus on growth, not spreadsheets. From faster audits to stronger stakeholder confidence, Hyperproof gives you the business advantage of smarter compliance. Visit www.hyperproof.io to see how leading teams are transforming their GRC programs.
Today is August 26th, 2025. I'm Maria Varmazes, and this is T-Minus.
T-Minus. 20 seconds to LOS. T-Dress. Go for deploy. Roger, roll.
ESA's Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer is on track for its gravity assist flyby at Venus on August 31st, despite earlier communications issues.
4.
Planet has been selected by NASA for a SBIR grant to develop a next-generation weather forecasting system.
3.
York Space Systems has completed its spacecraft for the Space Development Agency's Tranche 1 transport layer.
2.
SpaceX is due to launch an Earth observation exclusive Falcon 9 mission with 8 EO payloads from California.
1.
Aerospacelab has closed an extended Series B funding round totaling 94 million euros. Today's guest is Scott Thompson, PwC Global Aerospace and Defense Leader. And I spoke to Scott about PwC's Global Aerospace and Defense Annual Performance and Outlook Report. So stay with us for more on the insights that Scott shared with me later in the show. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Let's dive into today's Intel briefing. European satellite manufacturer Aerospacelab has closed an extended Series B funding round totaling 94 million euros, which comes to about 110 million US dollars. The funding was raised through a dual tranche of 56 million euros from private companies, alongside a 38 million euro commitment from a European financial institution. Aerospacelab says this investment will be used to develop a fleet of ready-to-sell satellites. Additionally, it has been directed towards full verticalization of all key subsystems, reinforcing its industrial autonomy and accelerating its product development. Aerospacelab's megafactory in Belgium has already benefited from the Series B funding, enabling the company to build one of the most advanced satellite production sites in Europe. It has a manufacturing capacity of up to 500 satellites per year. Construction of the megafactory began in 2024, with its first satellites production expected in 2026, and with a full production capacity to be reached by 2027. At the time of our recording and nearly publishing time, SpaceX is targeting a launch from California. SpaceX is due to launch an Earth observation exclusive Falcon 9 mission with 8 payloads from Space Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base. The 27-minute launch window opens at 11:53 a.m. Pacific Time, with a backup opportunity tomorrow, which would be Wednesday, August 27th, at the same time. On board this mission is Luxembourg's national EO satellite NEOS, Planet's Pelican 3 and 4, Capella Space's Acadia 6, Pixel's F-Fly 1, 2, and 3, which will complete Phase 1 of its hyperspectral constellation, and Druva Space's Leap 1 hosting payloads from Acula Tech and Esper Satellite Imagery. And SpaceX is also planning a third attempt at Starship's 10th test flight after cloudy weather paused the mission attempt last night. The launch window opens at 7:30 p.m. local time. York Space Systems has completed its spacecraft for the Space Development Agency's Tranche 1 transport layer. The spacecraft have also been shipped to the launch site. A total of 21 York-built satellites will lift off by the end of this summer, marking the on-orbit debut of the first generation of the Space Development Agency's proliferated warfighter space architecture, directly supporting warfighters in the field. Planet has been selected by NASA for a SBIR grant to develop QubitCast, which is a next-generation weather forecasting system. QubitCast will be powered by artificial intelligence and aims to improve long-range or sub-seasonal to seasonal weather predictions beyond current limitations, with a focus on extreme weather detection capabilities. The system will provide critical early warning signals for high-impact severe weather, making it possible to plan and prepare for extremes. The NASA grant follows a National Science Foundation grant to develop NEVA, its foundational AI model for Earth system analysis. The company also recently launched EDDI, making previously inaccessible long-range weather predictions freely available to the public for the first time. We hope to see this system launch in the coming years. And it's been a little while since we checked in with the European Space Agency's Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer, better known as JUICE. So let's spill the juice. See what we did there? ESA says that JUICE is on track for its gravity assist flyby at Venus on August 31st, despite earlier communications issues. ESA has successfully resolved a spacecraft communication anomaly that temporarily severed contact with Earth. And that issue, which emerged during a routine ground station pass on July 16th, temporarily disrupted JUICE's ability to transmit information about its health and status. But ESA says thanks to action performed by teams at the European Space Operations Center in Germany and JUICE's manufacturer Airbus, communication was restored in time to prepare for the upcoming planetary encounter. Bravo! And that concludes today's Intel Briefing. Stay with us for insights from PwC's annual report. But before we get to that today, we've got N2K senior producer Alice Gruth standing by with additional stories that we are watching today.
Indeed I do, Maria. We've added 2 additional links into today's selected reading section of our show notes. They cover Filtronic's announcement that SpaceX has placed an order with them for a next-generation proprietary gallium nitride E-band product, and Assured Space has unveiled a new phased array for missile defense radar operations and space communications.
It's always nice to hear about new products after all. And a reminder, folks, that you can find the original sources to all of the stories that I've mentioned throughout the show today in the show notes, which are available on our website, space.n2k.com. Hey T-Minus crew, if you are just joining us, hello and welcome. And be sure to follow T-Minus Space Daily in your favorite podcast app. Also, if you could do us a favor, share this intel with your friends and coworkers. That's because a growing audience is the most important thing for us, and we would love your help as part of the T-Minus crew. So if you find T-Minus useful, and we always hope that you will, please share so other professionals like you can find the show. Thank you so much for your support, everybody. It means a lot to me and the entire team here at T-Minus.
You hear from us here at T-Minus every single day. Now we'd love to hear from you. Your voice helps shape the future of N2K Networks. Tell us what matters most to you by completing our annual audience survey. Your insights help us grow to better meet your needs. There's a link to the survey in our show notes. We're collecting your comments through August 31st. Thanks.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Our guest today is Scott Thompson, PwC Global Aerospace and Defense Leader. I spoke to Scott about PwC's Global Aerospace and Defense Annual Performance and Outlook Report.
every year we gather up the financial results of the top 100 A&D companies globally, and we accumulate that information. At the same time, we look at other major headlines, developments, trends that are going on in the industry, and we put that all together and package up in an annual report. So this report was looking at the 2024 results. And so what I can share with you, the good news is that it was a record year for the A&D industry, both in terms of revenue and profitability. The total revenue was $922 billion, which was 9% above 2023, and the profitability was $84.4 billion, which was 11% above the previous year. So there's a fair amount to unpack in terms of these results. So the first thing that I would point to is that Boeing lost over $10 billion in the year. So the industry had a record profitability despite this type of headwind. And the main reason it was able to achieve that was very, very strong growth, particularly in the commercial aviation aftermarket. So three companies in particular, RTX, GE Aerospace, and Rolls-Royce, all major tier one providers and engine makers, had extraordinary results. Up 24%, 84%, 54% on profitability. If I take out Boeing from the results, the other 99 companies had a profit increase of an average of 25%. But then if I take out those other three companies that did extraordinarily well, the 96 companies grew at 6%. And I think that's probably most representative of the industry overall. On the defense side, I think we all know that defense budgets are high, driven by geopolitical risk. In Europe in particular, there's a lot of increased defense spending. In fact, when I look at the backlogs for the dozen largest defense companies, in the past 2 years, backlogs are up about 25%. So I think, again, underscores the fact that the industry can't produce at the same rate that they're getting orders in at.
I really appreciate the context here, and because I don't often get that insight into sort of the larger sector, since my view can also be sometimes quite siloed. And of course, inevitably, I'm going to be asking that siloed question of specifically the space silo, such as it is in this case. Is there anything that is particularly worth calling out, or any outliers in there within the broader context that you've been mentioning? Because it's, again, keeping in mind this is, as you said, 2024, and right. I want to make sure to remind our listeners that's what we're talking about here. Still, it was a very a fascinating year in the space industry, and I just wanted to make sure that if there's anything there you wanted to mention.
Sure. Well, I mean, the demand is tremendous in space as well. Maybe many of your listeners have heard some of the estimates that the space economy is going to approximately triple in value to around $1.5 trillion annually sometime mid next decade. So there's a few things that are driving that. There's 3 or 4 things that I would point to. So, the first thing that I would point to is this proliferation of small satellite networks. Smaller satellites now are they're more affordable, they're more powerful, and they're being deployed, extensively. They also have advanced technologies, synthetic aperture radar, which is high-res images that work day or night through any type of weather, satellite-to-ground optical technology, which is basically using optical lasers instead of RF signals, improves the data density. So there's a whole bunch of reasons why the technology is really fantastic and being deployed. And then you've got these networks that are going up, traditional satellite providers like SES and Viasat, but then newcomers like SpaceX Starlink network and Amazon's Kuiper network. In addition to that, national defense is using a lot more small sats for intel, communications, things like missile tracking is very important. And then, of course, there's space exploration. The Artemis program going back to the moon and possibly Mars someday. And all of this is being driven also by significantly reduced launch costs. smaller satellites, lower launch costs. And these are the major things that are really driving tremendous growth in space.
Also circling back to this is a 2024 review. A major story of that year was, and again, it wasn't always correctly reported, but what is often shorthanded as the Russian nukes in space, and I'm being very glib about the description there. And it's also not fully correct, but it's sort of the larger trend or thoughts about the trend of the militarization in space, especially with the story we saw last year. I noticed it got a call out in the report, and I just sort of wanted to invite your reflections on that and any thoughts on where it's going. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this story highlights what we've always known, which is that the space domain is a highly vulnerable domain. Okay. Space has become tremendously important both for national security and for the global economy. And it's increasing in terms of our reliance all the time. And the main reason that I've talked about this is this proliferation of small satellites. And they are more difficult to attack, these small satellite networks. And we've also been prioritizing satellite defense systems. But this story about the Russian nukes in space shows that, if an adversary could potentially destroy all space assets with a nuclear weapon, that we are very vulnerable. And we really can't rely entirely on space assets. On the one hand, they're tremendously valuable. They're proliferating in terms of their use, and that's great. But we have to recognize the risk associated with that, and I think it's very important to have ground-based backups for national security, for communications, and even important things like running our economy.
Absolutely. Anything that you would like to make sure that we include regarding this report, or anything at all, really? I invite your wrap-up thoughts here.
Well, one of the things I didn't touch upon yet is just the some of the statistics around the launches I think are incredible. So, when we look at 2024, there was another record in terms of orbital launches. So there were 261 launches in 2024. 253 of those were successful, which means 7 weren't. And that's a 17% increase year over year. Now, SpaceX conducted 134 of those launches, which is a 51% market share globally, which is pretty impressive. And that's a 37% increase over the previous year, and it's a doubling over a 2-year period of time. And the U.S. is clearly the leader in terms of launches. 156 of those launches were done from the U.S. That was a 34% increase. The second most was from China, which was 68, and that was only one more than the previous year. So, the space industry is a tremendous asset for the U.S. and one that really should continue to be nurtured, I think.
We'll be right back.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love, starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
Welcome back. A shout out today to the grand prize winner of NASA's 2025 Student Art Contest, high school senior Da-Young Jung of Washington State, with her winning digital art piece called My Wonders with You. It is an exceptional illustration full of all sorts of space legendary Americana, like a space shuttle lifting off into a starry night sky, a little child on the roof of a red barn with their trusty dog watching in wonder, and, yep, some sneaky alien friends right behind. It is the cover of a children's picture book if I have ever seen one. The 2025 contest theme for this art contest was Our Wonder Changes the World, and Jung says this theme really spoke to her. She said, the theme immediately sparked memories of the moment I first saw a NASA spacecraft launch into space. That experience filled me with awe and endless questions, especially about how aliens might view our efforts to explore the cosmos. I began imagining what future space missions might look like if we ever made contact with extraterrestrial life. That was the moment everything clicked, the exact moment when imagination started to fill up the tiny world in my head, and I knew exactly what I wanted to draw. Yep, I love it. And, I paint from time to time, and I've worked on a number of pieces in my day, also inspired by space science and exploration. So yes, I completely get it. It has been the highlight of my day today, honestly, looking through all of the 2025 contest winners by grade, from kindergarten through 12th grade. And these are some fantastic artists, y'all. What are the amazing things that kids are dreaming of when it comes to space right now? What's inspiring the next generation? Well, we don't even have to ask or wonder, really. We can simply look at the creative work that they're sharing with us. Communication, connection, the beautiful unknown, the infinite possibilities for life, the fantastic work of making our world and worlds beyond better places. These fantastic budding artists are dreaming big, far beyond the stars. So please take a moment and enjoy their work. We have a link in the show notes for you, and let's hear it for space science inspiring the arts and how beautiful it all is, especially through a child's eyes. And that's T-Minus, brought to you by N2K Cyberwire. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing space industry. If you like our show, please share a rating and review in your podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to space@n2k.com. We're proud that N2K Cyberwire is part of the daily routine of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector, from the Fortune 500 to many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. N2K helps space and cybersecurity professionals grow, learn, and stay informed. As the nexus for discovery and connection, we bring you the people, the technology, and the ideas shaping the future of secure innovation. Learn how at n2k.com. N2K senior producer is Alice Carruth. Our producer is Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester, with original music by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilpie is our publisher, and I am your host, Maria Varmazis. Thanks for listening. See you tomorrow.